Aha. Now we're in
Right.
Yes.
trouble.
So I guess this is a sorry, I'm having a little bit of a culture shock here. Culture
Uh-oh.
shock? That's not the right word. Uh, you
Like
know, th
that?
this is a bit. This feels kind of big for me, especially considering your character and all these characters have been part of my life and her life for literally since I was three.
Oh,
Literally, your characters
that's
have been
cool.
around since I was like little kid. So like this is kind of bringing that in for me. So I'm trying to
I I agree.
um but I guess that really my first question really is you've been playing this character for upwards of it literally I think almost 26 years at this
It's
point
this
in
year.
like
Yeah, this year.
it,
This January was 26 years. Yeah.
this January is 26 years, so
Yeah.
that's like it's character longevity, especially like it I gotta imagine it's pretty because plankton is necessarily pretty close to your like there's a little bit of an extra inflection or whatever. It's a speaking voice. Like
Yeah.
how is that for like 26 years of doing that? And
Yeah.
not just that in like voiceover and doing all these different characters, even though obviously Plankton is the biggest and major one.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
that's the question.
Well, that's a good question. I think, yeah, I think particularly Plankton because that's that one. My voice isn't naturally that low, so I
Mm,
have to sort of make a pocket, in my throat
yeah.
to kind of make that sound, and I talk out of the side of my mouth when I do it, and that's like not. Yeah, eventually that gets on that wears on your larynx for sure. I
Yeah.
mean, and I felt it a few times, even recently. I mean, after the movie, um, doing songs and for a period of time that can do damage too. So I try to I try to not overdo it too much. But yeah, it can be hazardous at times. I'm always worried. I'm like, oh no, I'm like always putting a scarf on and, covering up when I go outside. I don't want anything to damage it. So, but I did not think I'd be playing that particular character for this long. You think you'll play that once or twice and it'll be over. And certain voices you go, oh, yeah, I don't do that anymore. That was because the show was only on for 3 years, so most shows are not on that long. Um, so it is a surreal experience.
Yeah, because I'm trying to figure out the right um yeah. Because another thing, a lot of people like also like made the comments towards, and unfortunately, it happens. Some actors just get older, and it's
Yeah,
not really ever on them. A lot of
sure.
people have the comments for Tom, especially because Tom's been playing SpongeBob literally as long as you've been playing Plankton,
Yeah.
and obviously, there's clips of characters he's played before SpongeBob that have been, and you know he hasn't just been doing that voice for SpongeBob. He's had
Hmm.
like little bits of like that. I can't remember the exact name of the show, but it's a very it was a
Hmm.
yeah, that's
Sure.
another part of the subject. I'm rambling,
Yeah, yeah.
but yeah, it's like you get that's a comment I hear a lot in like circles of like animation or whatever where people are a little worried for actors where it's like you guys have been playing these characters for literally for some of us our whole lives, so
Hmm.
like
Yeah.
that has to be taxing,
Crazy.
but like obviously I can hear from your voice right now like it's I'm not trying to butter you up, but it's like smooth and buttery. It's like you still seem to got it.
Well, I don't do as much. I don't have to do it as much as Tom has to do SpongeBob.
Yeah.
So he does a lot more of it. He's got a band, so he's always singing. There's just,
Oh yeah.
he's doing a lot of that. I'm always trying to protect it,
Mm.
my voice from getting, too roughed up. Even, I just did a video game, and video games are crazy because you have like such a huge script to do. There's so many reactions you have to do to everything that happens, and you have to do every single one of those little reactions and little stuff. And with certain, with particularly with plankton, there's a lot of screaming reactions. It's him screaming and scared of something, or it's him getting hit, or it's him getting stomped on, or it's him falling down a well, or whatever it is. It goes on and on and on. So I particularly usually after a video game, like I'll try to um, you know not schedule a record for a week, just so it heals up a little.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, everybody's different with that too. So,
Yeah, especially when you have to do some of the side characters, because obviously it's not just Plankton. There's sometimes
yeah.
just like some of these other side characters that do have a little bit more grading. Grading. That's got to definitely be
Oh yeah,
probably
that's like sandpaper on your throat. It's you
yeah.
you really feel it. Yeah. Especially and screaming particularly. Just if you have to do a lot of screaming in one place. My motto is save the screaming for the end. And I always go, can we save the screaming for the end? Because otherwise you're gonna rip up my throat. And then I have to do all the regular lines in between all that. So that's like a little trade secret from me, is that I always say that. That'll be my autobiography. It'll be Save the Screaming for the End by
That'd be
Mr.
great.
Lawrence.
I'll be there day one. All right. So, Jenna, you had a question, so I'll let you go.
So speaking of Tom Kenny, seeing your fellow voice actors play roles in other projects, like for Tom Kenny,
Yeah,
he's done Ice King and Adventure Time,
sure.
Hugh from Final Space, and Chuck from Kid Cosmic, as well as Clancy Brown, who did Mr. Krabs. He's also voiced a character in Detroit Become Human and also in Invincible. Do you see yourself eventually wanting to do more roles outside of SpongeBob, whether it be a voice actor role or even a writer role?
Um, yeah, I guess so. I'm not really auditioning all the time. The other guys have, you know, they they're actors and they're always out there going for acting gigs, and I am too, but I'm not looking for it because I have a day job. So it sort of gives me, I'm always busy with the writing on the show. So it's kind of another facet of what I'm doing. But when things come up, if I'm asked to do stuff, some people ask me to audition for things, and I'll go and do that. Sometimes I'm in it, sometimes I'm not. But I have less time to pursue acting as the other guys, as the other cast. But if I had more time, I'd love to. It's just one of those things that I don't have all the time that I'd like to pursue. But as a regular, just playing acting roles, that's up to, if I have time, and two, if there's a situation that comes up that I know about to do it. For writing, yeah, writing and directing, I've been doing in different guises for years. I just finished a short film that's going to come out. Hopefully, it's going to be out this summer, but I'm just finishing it now. And that's not for kids, and it's not, and that's for another, an idea for it's a pilot kind of for another show, but and that's so I'm always trying to do stuff, but I don't think the ultimate for me is to at least for now, we're kind of the gatekeepers of the SpongeBob universe. So I'm one of those lucky few who ended up being in charge of what's happening, and so I kind of like exploring that right now. Has been nice that we've had the opportunity to do it. And also there's not a lot going on right now. It's a weird time in Hollywood. So um, I'm glad that I ended up stumbling into something that is still here. So I'm grateful for that, and I'm also just frightened about the industry in general and for my friends.
Yeah.
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 And
That
or until SpongeBob ends eventually, whenever that will be.
Right.
Hopefully
we're
not
always
expensive.
assuming it'll be this next season, and then we get picked up again. So it's
Yeah.
sort
Yeah,
of
the guy whoever owns Nick calls up is like, hey
right,
guys, you want to do another like 10 years? It's like, all right.
right. And also when we get on for a season, for me, that's another 2 years kind of tacked on. We know if you picked up for another season, that's another 2 years ahead before we're actually finished with that, and with the animatics, and then the shipping of everything. So it's it's uh it's nice to know that it's there and that it's happening. But like I said, it's been rough. It's been a rough since the strikes and everything. It's been really rough. So
Yeah, and that's the last couple of interviews we've had before. I mean, obviously we're still a little small time right now, but the last couple of interviews we've had before that we've also had mentions of the strike. So these have been going
yeah,
on back and forth for a while, especially because you know, all these impending robots, wanting to like I've been vehemently I've been very against like people like using AI to
yeah,
completely replace like some of these actors, especially. I'm not just talking about like old guard actors. I'm talking about like people that want to get into the industry.
yeah,
And it's like, it just there's sometimes that it feels like people don't really respect that side of the industry, or just that don't respect the industry at all.
right.
All sometimes.
That's true.
I was gonna say there was another thing I wanted to mention is
Hmm.
more of a question. Like I don't know if I already asked this, but I'll just ask it anyway.
Sure.
Obviously Spongebob and just your characters in general have such a cultural impact.
Yeah.
Obviously you can see it in internet humor and all this other stuff, but I kind of want to leave that for a little bit later
Hmm.
because I just remember the main question I wanted to. Oh, yeah. Sorry, Jenna. I'll give you a
We
second to
got
ask because
time.
yeah. Oh, we got
Yeah.
plenty of time. No, oh no, it came up. Um,
Sure.
how much of I don't want to say how much yourself, but how much of I guess yourself do you put into when you do like both writing and like recording or voiceover for your characters? Because there's obviously some other actors in this industry that both do just basically themselves, or like if they have to write for their characters,
Hmm.
there's a level of like self inserting into their characters. Like
Hmm.
do you have any level of self insertion into
I
your
don't think you can avoid it, really. I think
yeah
anybody who says they're not doing that, that's they're 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 either they're either I think that's not true. I think everybody, whatever you're writing, even if you're writing for another character that you're not playing, you're still bringing yourself into the conversation. It's not a conversation everybody's privy to. You don't need to know that I'm doing that, bringing it into it, unless it's a biography, it's about me, my life, or something like that. But you bring all that stuff as not just things that happen to you, but just emotions, just raw emotions, whatever it is. If you're angry, you know, that's coming from something I'm angry at. That's not just coming from me acting like I'm angry. It's actually channeling into that emotion, and I'm being reminded of, you know, feelings in general. Not necessarily I'm thinking, oh, I'm mad at this one thing, I'm mad at my car bill, or some, or my, my rent or whatever. It's not that. It's more just knowing, being in touch with how that happens, how you can get to the anger part. And once you're able to do that, it's all coming from a place of experience. It's all coming from whatever you've experienced, from me being angry at, a person who's, a friend who did something that that I'm mad at, or I stub my toe. It's like I'm angry in both moments. I'm, and
you
jumping
hear
up at
that,
both moments.
Keith?
Yeah. But it's all one, it's all one emotion. It's all coming from the same spot, which is a big reaction, big angry reaction. So yeah, I think it's always that. I think it's always about yourself in a way, because that's the thing that I mean, whatever experiences you have are gonna be in there. There's no way. And writing stuff in the beginning, yeah, I mean, so many ideas came from stuff that's happened to us, the writers, the board guys, stuff that happens to you while you're at the store, so when you're out, things, dealing with your car, dealing with coworkers, dealing with family, all that stuff is you can mine we all mine that stuff for comedy. I mean, that's all, anything anyone else can relate to is boom, that's gold. you
Yeah.
know yeah.
Yeah. And as a writer myself, I'm both
Yay.
a writer and a creator and a drawer, and I draw characters. Like
Cool.
as a writer, I in some way relate to that. Whenever I draw something, I do put my own experiences into it, whether I know it or not.
No, you're just doing it. It's natural. It just happens. It's part of the process, I think, too. And I started as an animator and a board artist. And so everything about it's funny because that's the thing that's how I got into the industry was because I was a cartoonist. But yet but nobody knows me as that much. They always think of me as a writer.
Yeah.
Whereas that was secondary. I only wrote because I was already understood drawing, and I understood animation, and and that's when Steve and Derek and I, started putting the show together at the top when we all got hired to be there in that's at the studio. That was, what we were trying to do was pull together. All of us were cartoonists, so it was a thing of, okay, let's approach this whole series from the cartoonist point of view, from a cartoon point of view, from a gag point of view, from a comedy point of view, so that, because that's what was on our minds. We just wanted to be funny. That's what we wanted to do on Rocco. We were all from Rocco. That's what we were trying to do there. And then this was like a more, almost like a more polished in our focus on where the comedy was going to come from all the time. We were a little older then, so we were a little more focused on certain things, and I think the show ended up being, coming from from people who draw all the time. That's where the show originally came from. So I'm a writer, but I always consider myself that second to me being, an artist.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
I can kind of see that in like when I would see some clips of like modern SpongeBob. Like I can see like early SpongeBob, or like
Mm-hmm.
let's say the past 13 years compared to the current 13 years. The current 13 years have leaned more into, this is a cartoon, we will do like more cartoonish expressions and all this kind of stuff.
Right.
I would try to be silly. I'm not saying that the earlier seasons would do that, but I can kind of see it of like the current SpongeBob almost has a little bit of, I don't want to say Looney Tunes to it in like its vibe, like how the expressions are. But like I can kind of see that, and like
Sure.
yeah.
No, that's true. Tex Avery, those guys, the MGM cartoons, old theatrical cartoons, which is what we all grew up on and was the stuff we were trying to imitate, mostly. So I could tell you one of the reasons that it became more turned into that over time is because the show was able to, there were a lot more art. I mean, when a show becomes popular, when you first start out, everybody's new to it, everybody's working on it, and you can only get so much out of the drawings and everything you're trying to do in the art of it. There's going to be a certain pushback because you have a certain budget and you have a certain amount of time and all that. But once the show became more popular over time, there was more opportunities for us to take our time and be a magnet for other artists that normally wouldn't have, may not have come to us. So we get often we end up with the cream of the crop of the industry sometimes. So because of that, that helps it evolve. There's just a lot of factors that come into it when a show's been around a long time. And sometimes we get a better situation for the budget for us to be able to uh, uh, do more than we were able to do in the past.
Oh, and
Yeah,
that's, so you probably already answered this question a while back,
I'll
but
answer it again.
yeah. Did you ever envision yourself that in the future you would be wearing a lot of hats, if you will, being a comedian, a writer, an actor, all at the same time? Or did you ever start off as one thing but really wanted to do something else?
That's interesting. Yeah. It actually, if anything, if it started for me, I mean, I liked being silly and funny in front of my family and in front of my friends growing up, but I didn't look at it as something I would do for a job. I just thought, you know, I'm just goofing off. This isn't
It
something I
just
would do.
it
Yeah,
just comes naturally.
right. It just comes out. And then hopefully, and then drawing became a more serious, like as soon as I started drawing and became serious about it as a kid, um, that's the first time I was thinking, oh, I might be doing this, even though I was a young kid. I knew that people did that for a living, and I thought, oh, maybe I'll do a comic strip, or I'll do or I'll be a painter, or because when you're younger, when you're a kid, it's everything's just big balloons floating around, ideas are just big balloons. You're not really thinking of what you're going to do or how it's just all a dream. And so, but when I got into high school, that's when comedy as a idea of maybe I'll do this as a job and I'll draw like there were more possibilities open to me because I really became obsessed with comedy and watching comedians and watching sketch comedy and then that led back to the old theatrical cartoons, which are really funny and are like sketch comedy. And so that fed me back into that. And I was like, oh, okay, this is kind of connected. It's, Saturday Night Live and Bugs Bunny are kind of connected. There's a connection to the precision and the seriousness with which you take the comedy, which means you have to take it seriously because you're drawing all this stuff. When we do the show, we're very serious about this silly stuff we're doing. We're treating it as seriously as possible, so that's what makes it, I think, then enjoyable is that we were diligent in making sure you're going to understand this idea and laugh at this idea, and we're usually pretty sure of it. We were with the group ourselves, we're trying out comedy, on each other all the time. And then in the cast, in the voice sessions too. So yeah, it's kind of funny how I feel like it all connected up at one point where drawing, uh being on stage as a performer, and then but actually drawing, being funny and then drawing something that's funny. I tried to actually connect that in a stand-up act years and years ago where I was drawing, where I bring a big pad up on stage and I was doing drawings on stage, which was fun. Might go back to that at some point if I end up going around to I've done a couple of college lectures, so I might end up going back to doing that at some point. But yeah, it all became connected around when I started to get serious about stuff in high schools, where I started to really get more serious about, yeah, I'm going to do this as a job. I'm going to, whatever it is, I'm doing this as a job, whether it's drawing or this or that. But to me, it all became sort of a big connected thing that was all amorphous before, it was all floating around. Now it's all in this box, that I'm carrying around going, I'm doing this, so, or I'm going to try to do this. Um, and then places that I was working with at first were willing for me to do different things. Um, and I was lucky enough to get to do voice stuff, after that. But it was all part of the same thing. When I got the voice stuff, I was so happy and excited and surprised that I was able to get it. When I got Filbert on Rocco, that was my first voice gig. But it also, so I was surprised and it was great, but it was also made total sense to me. I was like, well, yeah, this is what I've been doing. I've been ready for this, you know. Uh, and so now and then, lucky enough, I've had a lucky enough career where been able to keep doing it for a long time, and still enjoy doing it. I still love all those connections I made up then are still just as fragile as they were then. Now I'm just as excited about it, and I'm just as worried that I'm doing a good job, that I'm getting across what I'm trying to get across. So it's always a worry, but also it's great, when you get to see something and you're really happy with it. Um, it's there's nothing like that. It's really worth it.
Yeah. This was kind of sitting in the back of my head for a hot minute.
Hmm. Sure.
Because you also did the voice of a couple characters, but mainly Edward on Camp
Edvard.
Laszlo.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was compared
Mhm.
to like mid 2000s, cartoon, just like that era of, you know, television to now. Obviously you have done other series outside of Nickelodeon's like Wheelhouse
Mhm.
House and stuff. Is I guess for one thing, uh, the main question is Nickelodeon a lot more stringent now, like compared to how they were like 2000, like 5, like 20 years ago? Oh, kind of in that kind of situation, or
Yeah, I think so. I think it's all checks and balances. So there's certain things that they're more worried about now today than they were back then, but then there's stuff that they don't care about at all that they worried about back then. So it's, you know what I mean? There's certain things that
yeah,
change in the shell game, but it's still, we're still a family show.
yeah,
So we're not here to push the envelope too hard, even though we do stray off and venture into more adult material here and there.
yeah,
And but we also try to make it relatable. So even if we go like the Plankton movie, is a lot more, basically it's a story about a marriage of, having a problem. That's not net, that's not usually a kid friendly idea, but we felt that's what the story is about with those two characters, and so that's what we decided. Yeah, we're going to take it there, but we're also going to make it very simple to understand and not get too complex into an adult world, but put it on a level where everybody can get it and kids can get it, and not be bored with adults talking about adult
Yeah.
problems.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And something else interesting is that of how yeah, Nickelodeon, like ever since like SpongeBob happened, the instant success of SpongeBob, Nickelodeon's attitude like immediately almost changed in an instant to the point where, unfortunately, for a lot of creators, for a lot of shows that are on Nickelodeon, they end up just being canceled. Most of them end up being canceled because they weren't, mostly because they weren't instant successes as SpongeBob, which it really does put an unfair expectation on a lot of creators. And I feel like with that kind of reputation, it could like
Hmm.
push away new creators from potentially working at Nickelodeon. I mean, for me, I wouldn't work at Nickelodeon because I don't like corporate meddling. It's, you know.
Right. Well, that's part of the game, working at any of the big, studios,
yeah,
unfortunately. But the other part of that is that there's, you know, I mean, when you're doing uh like, I'm trying to remember your question now. Actually, I went in a big circle in my head and I came back. You were
that's how
asking,
it happens.
yeah, yeah. You were asking again about uh sorry, because you said the corporate thing and then I got lost in what was the
Oh
original
yeah.
question? What was the original part of your question?
Um, well, it was more of a comment. It was more about how Nickelodeon, whether
Right,
they know it
Nickelodeon.
or not, puts put unrealistic expectations on other creators to be instant success, like
Yeah, no,
SpongeBob.
yeah, yeah, and I think a lot of places do that, but I think also with them, um, I mean, SpongeBob was only on by the time it hit second season, the show got that's where it got popular. So it kind of took off from there. It was sort of just another show that was on up until second season, and then when second season came out, it got all these viewers. Like we were almost getting not very much for a while there, but it replayed over the summer. The whole season replayed. That's when the seasons were more like they used to be, which was you actually did a season that went from like September until I think uh, April, and then you'd have the summer months would be reruns, or they would show they'd show reruns of the same stuff. So then that's where everybody saw it over that summer. And college kids started watching it over that summer, and then when it came out in the second season, it became a bigger thing. It was out there, but so they were on the chopping block too. If that didn't go if second season didn't work out, we would have been gone too. And yeah, it's unfortunate that it's because for me, you need a show to kind of take its time and get in there and sort of find its audience, which it's harder and harder for them to do that. So yeah, I think it's in our case, we've just been here for a long time, so it's not happening to us. But we'd like to see more stuff from the network that challenges the audience, like we're trying to do. We'd like to see more stuff that's got a really creator's point of view, and you need kind of time to nurture those things. So and the climate changes on those things too. A few years there'll be different people and different things going on. People are more interested in this or that, and then there's more of it. But it's tough with the internet for everybody to keep up and bring new things to the table all the time. But to me, if they did more of that, they'd have a better chances for bigger hits and for more individuality in the creators that bring their projects to the table. So we'll cross our fingers, hoping the tide turns on that.
Yeah. So this was, I don't know if it's an interesting question, but obviously in the seasons I watched when I was a lot younger, there was a couple more live action segments, and obviously you are the sailor the artist on the little
In the
sailboat.
boat. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
How much of just like I I lose track of SpongeBob nowadays because
Sure.
I don't watch. I wish I watched a little bit more of like regular cable and all that kind of stuff. Sometimes just to keep up with stuff, but um, you know, I don't really see too much of that nowadays from like people
Hmm.
like sharing clips. Like,
Yeah,
would
exactly.
you? I don't want to say like early SpongeBob was also a little bit more slapdash of what you guys tried to do,
Uh-huh.
but like I would see a lot more like obviously the guy in the gorilla suit, like
Hmm.
or the gorilla in the Patrick suit. I guess that would be the
Yeah, yeah.
better phrasing. Like how I'm trying to figure out the right way to ask that, but yeah, how did you feel about like doing all those like segments back in the day and like would you if you had the opportunity to do them more often, would you still
Yeah.
do them, I guess?
Yeah, I mean, we have been doing it, so that's sort of just if you hadn't seen it lately,
Oh yeah, I
you wouldn't
remember
know that we're
there was
doing
the
it. Yeah,
human version a little bit like recently too.
yeah. You
So
should watch.
yeah,
What you really should watch, which we took it to another level, was the SpongeBob's birthday blowout episode, which was an hour long. That's the one where we're on camera playing our parts.
that was it. That was the one I was referring to. Yeah,
Yeah, really
I
proud of that one.
remember like right after I finished that thing, you mentioned that.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
So that's another one that I mean, so we've been doing it. I just wrote one that's gonna probably have me in it, in a different, not the guy on the boat, but a different thing. So we're always looking, Monty Python was a big influence on me, on Steve, on Derek. and and pretty much everybody that came on the show at the beginning with us, like Paul Tibbett and Aaron Springer and those guys, we were all Python fans, and
Yeah.
which meant putting different worlds together that kind of don't match exactly purposefully, so it kind of looks looks
the
fun and
hand.
clunky, and we love that stuff. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
like
Very
I know
abstract.
Yeah.
I noticed that, like, especially when you would have in, and I do remember like seeing more recent clips too, is like when you have like realistic, obviously I don't think it's Perch Perkins, but it's the newscaster is played by like a puppeted tuna,
Yeah.
and that
My fish
then
announcer guy. Yeah.
yeah, and then you have like Hans the hand, like it is very Monty Python. And I actually
Yeah.
was thinking that to myself before this. It's like a lot of SpongeBob, even to today's like standards, is very absurdist humor,
Yeah.
which is very into that kind of Monty Python, like, I don't want to say bowl, but like in that
Absolutely. No,
kind
I
of
know what you mean.
sphere
Yeah.
of like,
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
and that's where, before I started doing like working with Tink Tank, I used to do like a little sketch comedy,
Oh,
little like
cool.
skits online with action figures, and
Yeah. There you go.
that's my bread and butter, absurdist comedy.
Yeah.
And
Me too.
I,
Love that.
I think it really goes to show like how much just SpongeBob in general, or like some of these other long-lasting cartoons, can thrive from doing absurdist comedy, because that's what really kind of
Yeah.
gets people
That.
to laugh. I
Yeah.
guess.
Yeah.
That's what the Patrick Show was. When we came up with the Patrick Show, we all just went. The studio wanted a spin-off, and so when they brought it to us, we said the only way they wanted a Patrick, something with Patrick, and I said, okay, well then if we're doing Patrick, it has to be off the wall. It's got to be even loonier and crazier than SpongeBob. It has to have even less rules, and so we designed it that way so that it would be a wild ride every episode, and more absurdist humor, and more opportunities to just do stuff. And you really hopefully with that show, we were always making it so you don't know where this is going. You really don't know where you're being taken, in the episode, and make it crazier. And that's all again from our love of Monty Python, and then finally getting to create a new structure for a show than SpongeBob, because they didn't want to just do the Patrick Show and it's the same kind of show almost exactly the same way as SpongeBob. So we had to come up with a different pace, a different feeling, a different set of characters, and and a structure that allows us to be more use our imagination even more, and be more of a cartoonist kind of a show, and so I'm definitely proud. I'm very proud of that show too.
It's kind of the
And so what we were like talking about earlier, I had this one other question that I guess in a way relates to what we were talking about, and how like you're also like a writer on the show as well. Do you and you and there's like do you feel like your sense of humor in SpongeBob influenced future writers of the show?
I guess I hear that from people. I hear from fans sometimes, or others, that's the case. I'm not, it's not something you think about really when you're working, but I think what we did on Rocco, and then kind of, which was sort of the ramp up for SpongeBob, that show sort of has a lot of things that sometimes we'll do a show, particularly on Patrick, and I'll just go, wow, that's like a Rocco. That was totally like a Rocco episode, that I'll remember how we did that stuff. And I think our thinking then was a lot more about quick vignettes and quick jokes, connecting stuff, whereas SpongeBob became more of a story, let's come up with a really good story to tell, and then put jokes in it, but not have it be as, anachronistic as SpongeBob is,
Yeah.
or as, or as sorry, as Patrick is. Um, so so it's more of a there's a little bit of a shift in the way both of those shows work, but eventually it ends up being all about us just trying to be funny. That's all it is. Whether we're telling a story that's got more of a heart to it, or we're just being crazy. Both both things are both things still take time to figure out, and they both have their own set of rules and set of you know problems that you have to solve. So it
Yeah.
becomes fun on to do both at the same time is can be make your head spin sometimes, but it's been fun mostly.
I
So you
was.
would
Oh,
so you
go
would
ahead, Jenna.
say that Rocco was kind of developing Rocco was like a precursor to working on SpongeBob.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Uh,
Because Joe Murray wanted the show. He had some of the same comedy things that we had and that he liked. Um, and so we mind melded on that stuff. But that's it. That was the thing is that was the first thing we all did. That was the first TV show. I was on Ren and Stimpy as an animator for a little while when I first got out here. But right after that, Rocco happened, and Steve had been a director up in San Francisco, doing commercials, I think, and things. So everybody came from another place, and this is the first TV show we all did together that we all worked on, that anybody had worked on. So it was like comedy college for us. It was like going to college, and everybody in the college is has their talents, and it was a great think tank to be in, a great a sandbox to be in with everybody. So of course, a few of us, a group from that group going over to SpongeBob meant it was like a Rocco reunion, in a way over at SpongeBob. And then we were able to uh, sort of build upon what we had done in Rocco, sort of like, okay, what did we love about Rocco that we want to bring with us? What do we want to change from that show that makes this more of our show? Yeah, a different show than Rocco. So, so it was learning because we just got started. We were all youngsters then. So it was kind of like you know, a trajectory that we weren't necessarily trying to do. It was just that's the circumstances that laid out so that we were able to do it.
I was gonna say, and it was a comment I was gonna say before, or when you mentioned the Patrick show, it's like, yeah, it kind of feels like the Patrick show compared to SpongeBob is very the world according to Patrick,
Yeah, his point of
and
view more. Yeah.
yeah, and also just now that at least I'm seeing nowadays, Patrick's a lot more. He's always been zany, but I mean, there's a little bit extra flavor that Bill has been. I've seen heard in his voice and stuff.
Mhm.
Um, so this is I, I'm sorry. I'm just so happy to have. Yep. Sorry. I'm
No, go
not
ahead,
trying to
man.
be a fan
No,
person.
enjoy because we're, that's why we're here.
Yeah. So this was an interesting question, and I know like some actors enjoy it, some actors don't enjoy it. I mean, obviously, I mentioned it earlier. Like SpongeBob has a huge cultural impact, especially in the world of memes.
Yeah.
And
Yeah. We see a
like
lot of
how,
those.
yeah, how do you feel like obviously your character has a litany of memes like going on right now. How do you feel like just in general, how do you feel about like all these memes of your character and just like how like some of your senses of humor that you write on SpongeBob have been turned into like this type of absurdist meme culture and all that kind of
Yeah.
stuff?
It's like a Frankenstein monster out of what you came up with in a way,
yeah.
Yeah.
I at first I didn't know what to make of it, but now it's to me just a signal that we're in it, and one of those things that made us go, oh, I guess everybody knows who we are. It's like that kind of, because you're not really thinking about it when you're making it. You're just trying to get everything in and enjoy the process as much as you can, because it's a TV show that's moving really fast. So you want to give yourself pockets of time to enjoy the writing, to enjoy drawing, to enjoy voiceover acting. You want to like give yourself a little space, and instead of just and getting through this thing, you got to remember to enjoy this, because it's also part of the process to, if you want it to be funny, you kind of have to be loose, and you kind of have to be, if you're stiff and you're trying to be funny, it doesn't work. You got to be totally relaxed. And so, I don't know if that answers your question, but
No,
um,
I mean, like, obviously, like I mentioned in the first half of the question, I know like some actors don't really appreciate like
mhm.
some of the memes of their characters.
I love them.
Like,
I think mostly I like, because there's dirty ones, which are funny too. But yeah, I'm not supposed to like those, but I mean, there's a lot of it just shows that we're part of the culture, and people feel connected with our characters enough to want to include them in their daily, sort of discourse. And I think
yeah,
that's fine with me. It keeps us, I always say, it keeps us in the public's eye. It keeps the memory of us around. You see the meme, you're like, oh, I'm gonna watch SpongeBob maybe, because I just saw that funny meme, about it. So
yeah.
I like that stuff. I think it's flattering mostly.
Hmm. Yeah, obviously there is some of the stuff that's a little like, but
Yeah, but whatever.
yeah,
But you're gonna have to.
it's
It's gonna
public
happen.
consciousness.
Yeah, it's the
It's
Wild
tech.
West out there. You have to. It's gonna happen. Yeah,
Yeah.
Yeah.
There
It's
was
like free
a
publicity.
yeah.
that's what
That's
I say. Yeah,
yeah.
yeah.
Um, I was gonna say this. Ironically, it's very funny. I didn't even realize it. Today is the day that crabs fries. I
Yes, I
didn't
know. I
even
saw that this
realize that.
morning. I
I
know.
was like,
I did see that.
I never put two and two together. It's like we talked about like scheduling it today. It's like, and then I saw like I literally scrolled over to my Twitter, and I'm like I seen somebody post it, and what the thing is like, today's the day that crabs fries. I'm talking to Mr. Lawrence the day, but anyway, that's not the
I didn't
core of the
remember it
question.
until I saw three separate posts this morning about it, and I went, "Oh, okay, right, that's the
Yeah.
thing."
Oh,
I forgot.
I didn't even want to bring it up until like the last like couple of minutes.
Oh, okay.
But this is the question around that is obviously the that movie is also part of the culture zeitgeist.
Yeah.
That's such a random day, March 14th. What in the writers' room was that like whole like why is March 14th specifically? I know they only had like 3 days to do
Yeah.
the thing, but like why that like span of time to March
Right.
14th?
I think it's just trying to be, since when you're doing a joke that revolves around a date, you're trying to make it. Usually, there's two factors going on, which is, one is you try to make it a date that's not no that isn't known for something else already, to
Yeah,
screw up your joke. You don't want to do President's Day when it's supposed to be, this a kind of nondescript. So part of the fun is that it's a day nobody would care about except Plankton. And then then it's also about for me, it's about what's the funniest number when you're saying it. When you're going to say it, what's a funny number? So sometimes it's not as random. Sometimes it's really about what's a number that sounds funny when you say it. So there's certain numbers that are funnier than others.
yeah.
So yeah,
So is that the case with the 24? Found something funnier than 24, 25
25. There it
joke?
is. That's a great example of what I just said. Yeah.
That literally has become a vocal stim of mine. Anytime I think of that, it's been like ingrained into my head.
Yeah.
So
And that's
like,
one that I didn't hear till later, till people were saying it to me at Comic Cons and stuff like that. And I was like, oh, that caught on for some reason. Like my leg, that was just another thing. That was just something I was doing in the show as a little joke to the other, players. And then all of a sudden, because we did it so many times, the people are going to catch on and wonder what that is, or want more of it or whatever. So, and then they named the characters, gave them a first name, which had nothing to do with us, had nothing to do with the writers or anybody on the show. So it was kind of like all right, they like that guy, so I guess we'll do more with him, you know. So,
Yeah,
but
and that was something that was funny. I noticed this like like more in the background. I'm seeing like people talk about it, it's like they made an episode about the my leg guy.
yeah, that's right.
I mean, good for him, but I
Yeah.
mean,
I was
like
proud
it,
of, I was very proud of that one. That was like really the whole point of that episode was how many times can we say my leg and
yeah,
make it part of the story that was happening. Yeah.
Oh
yeah.
And
No,
boy.
we
that's
did a lot. We did a lot of times.
yeah, and I just it's just you get a lot of people, even people in the this type of community, like in autism community, like if that's a show that they love, obviously it's going to become part of like their
Yeah,
not lexicon, but like vocabulary.
sure.
I
No, I have the
gotta
same thing.
imagine there's other people. If I might say like 25, like if I'm saying 25, but like there's gotta be like some people there. Obviously, there's people that do like the whole living like Larry or my leg or
Sure,
like
sure.
all this kind of stuff. It's just I, dude, it's just so much. It's so much just to even like I can't even begin to like fathom just like how God. I sorry.
No, I know what you mean. I feel the same way about this stuff. I had lots of lines from comedy and particularly from cartoons growing up that everybody, you know, growing up, if you went into the, you know, to school, everybody knew what you were saying. Everybody knew if you pulled out a particular something from a Bugs Bunny or a Daffy Duck cartoon, everybody had seen those cartoons over and over, just like you did, because it was on a regular, you know, TV stations then, which was just like 4 or 5 networks, and they ran things over and over and over again. And so you ended up seeing the same stuff. So you're in that, and that's what it's like now. It's like everybody sees these things, and then they take it and they run with it because it becomes something that's part. I mean, especially with friends where I've joked with other people about those things. Other people know it, and they start laughing because they know, you know, they're like, yeah, I love that one, you know. So I get it. It's just weird for me to be on the other end of it, to not be the guy who's just laughing at something I saw that I think's funny, to actually be the guy making the thing that people are doing that with. It's great. It's a privilege, but it's also weird.
Yeah, it's like it
Yeah.
throws you for a loop.
Yeah,
Because like you never think a throwaway joke you made like 20 years ago gets
right,
sent to like between two people about your character riding a robot burger going maximum overdrive.
right,
It's
right. That was good.
like
I like that.
I, it's a little bit more of an impression. I didn't
But
mean to
people,
like
no, people come up at the thing. They put lines from the movie on a t-shirt, you know, and things like that. And it's not that they bought it somewhere. They made that t-shirt. This
and
is their favorite line, and here
that's
I'm
always
showing
really
you, you
cool.
know.
That's always really cool
That's
too.
amazing. It's amazing.
And that's just like I guess I know we're getting a little bit short of time, but I want to ask one more thing.
Well, I
The
got a little time here.
musical,
Yeah.
the musical. How
Yeah.
how
Like,
is that? Like, how do you feel with that? Like, did you work on like any of the writing part of
Yeah, we worked
that
on it.
anything? Like,
Yeah,
how
the
much of
writing
that?
group, yeah, the writing group worked on it at the beginning, and then there was another group that was writing the book for the movie, for the musical. And so there was a certain point where we had to break off from them because they had their musical to make, which is a different world than what we do on, you know, how we structure what we make. So there was a point, and we still kept coming in and giving our advice and whatever. But and it's particularly when if they went off of what the characters were. If that's more what we were mostly worried about, was making sure the characters came through as the characters that we, you know, were created at the beginning. That's we wanted to make sure that it didn't stray too much, because then it looks like we didn't do our job being the watchdog, and then also it might hurt the franchise, might hurt the play, you know, it might hurt it, you know, hurt it that way. um but we were very happy to be as part of that as we could be. And we were, I think, particularly good at the beginning. And then once they took it over and the songs started coming out and they're showing us the songs, we're like, wow, this is really great, this is really something. Then we saw previews of it and we were like, wow, this is, you know, just a nice, you know, big fun celebration, kind of a story. And the way they changed the, made the characters for the stage was great. I got to meet, all the cast on that, and particularly the guy who plays Plankton was really nice. And so it became a thing. And then of course I think I'm the only one. I think Tom, you hear Tom laughing at one point in the play. But there is a my leg in the play, which I had to approve
Oh
of.
yeah,
Yeah,
yeah, I
there's
remember that.
yeah. So
I
so I'm so happy that my voice is pretty much, unless it's a small community performance, it's usually me doing that. But I did also hear community performances where people are yelling, where the kid, whoever's in it, is saying my leg, or backstage or whatever. And just I don't have to be in it, just as long as they keep saying my leg. I'm very proud of that, and it's a great silly joke, and
Yeah,
I'm
yeah.
happy
but
that it lives.
yeah, but very very last thing, but with your movie with Plankton, the
Yeah,
movie, the one last thing I wanted to ask is
sure.
why make that a musical? Like, what was like? How come make that into a musical?
I was gonna
Um,
say there was a couple other, well, there's musical episodes, but I think there's musical segments of some of the other ones too. But
Yeah, we did a
Oh,
couple of them. I think the idea was, at first, it was kind of funny. It was almost a funny idea, like, just like, hey, let's make this a musical. That's funny. It's Plankton, and no one would expect it to be a musical. Let's do that. And I think
yeah,
originally also, as a joke, we thought, let's make it all let's make it an opera. Let's just make it a wall-to-wall music. Everybody's singing everything they say. And luckily that got, we were like, nah, that's too much. We're taking it too far. So it got boiled down to making songs that meant something to the storyline, to push you through the story, because it's kind of a complex story with everything happening with Karen, and we wanted to explore that enough, and have enough room in the movie to explore that. And so doing the songs as exposition helped us to get through a lot in a short period of time. So it's kind of purposeful in a utilitarian sort of way, but it was also, more or less came from, wouldn't this be funny if we could do that? And then when we got the great song guys to come along with us, to get Linda Perry, to get Devo, to get Brett McKenzie from Flight of the Conchords, we were like just tickled by that. And I got to work with all of them, and they were all fantastic. And one of my highlights of my career, so I was working with all of them, and you know getting to do that. I mean, it becomes more, because it's a serious thing when you decide you're going to do a song. You have to learn it, and it has to be figured out, uh and then it's a big day to record all that stuff, a big couple, few days to record everything one at a time, and get it right, because I was very nervous about getting it right for these legends who are in the music industry, and they're working with me, and I'm like, oh boy, I gotta be good. you know so uh so that ended up being, so like, in one way it's purposeful for the story, but in another way it was us wanting to be funny, and wanting to, usually with us, it's about how do we service what will be funniest for the audience. That's really what we're mostly trying to do. That's why we don't lean too hard on uh things that have to do with, to like sad notes on the story. We like to undercut everything. If we do something sad, we'll undercut it with something funny. If we do something almost serious, like in Scary, we'll undercut it with something funny. So that's sort of the motto of the show, in a way, was to make sure you're funny no matter what. Don't end, it always has to end on a funny note. And so, and I think we've even done things, even in this one, in the Plankton movie, was kind of, it was kind of bittersweet stuff going on with the couple getting back together and all that stuff, and being apart. And but it's always going to funnel back to funny. Funneling back to funny. That's my next book. Funneling the funny.
I was gonna say this was this was wonderful, and two, it was I I wanted to mention, because we totally forgot to mention, we also talked to Martin, actually, for
Oh, of course. No, my old
Martin
buddy. Yeah,
Olson,
yeah, yeah.
our first interview,
Yeah, I love
like
Martin.
for a thing. It was it's just amazing. Just like I don't want to say it's like a small world kind of situation, but it's always like really cool to like work with people that like either that you've known for a long time in like a third person type thing, and
Yeah.
then you get like the actual like I don't want to say starstruck. That might have been the first. That might have been the word I might have should have used like when I was first talking like an hour ago. But like
I know
this,
what you mean. No, I know the feeling. I feel the same way about
it,
others that
es-
I've dealt with, that I've met,
especially like and this is I used to do like the con circuit. Like I would usually do this,
Yeah.
but like sometimes like doing this feels a lot. I don't know. It feels nicer. It feels nicer than the con circuit. You actually get to know the yeah, you get to know the person better. Besides just
Yeah.
like them sitting at a desk is like, hey, how's it going? Sign
Well,
your
it's
thing.
awkward. That's nothing but awkward, the
Yeah.
cons. I mean, because you could pretend like it isn't, and I do. I keep on a happy face the whole day, but you're there for hours and hours signing stuff and doing stuff. And and you're sitting there out in the open, just sitting there, hey, it's me, it's that guy from that thing, it's very awkward. But what I find is that most of the awkwardness is on my side.
Hmm.
Because the fans come in, they're anything but awkward. They're there to meet you, and they're there to tell you how much they like what you do. And that's, I can't I can't that's just feel it feels great. It feels like a great thing. It feels like what you're doing is got some worth to it, There's something is getting through, or something is, because I really can't do anything else. This is what I this is what I do, and I've been doing it for a long time and been lucky to do it. But if I had to do a real job, I don't know how that would work out for me. I'd be in the corner, I
Yeah.
wouldn't know what I'm doing.
SpongeBob and Plankton's like baked into your person at this point.
Yeah, at this
But
point, it's great that it keeps going on, because otherwise I don't know what I'd be doing. But I think it's you know, to get to meet people like we do, uh, who love the show, is just, there's a joy in that, and there's a excitement in that. I love when we go to San Diego, because I know everyone's excited that they showed up, that they stood online to see us, or they came to the theater to watch our panel, or whatever it is, or and everybody's always coming up to you. They know who you are, and they want to make sure. I mean, there's some people just trying to get autographs signed of a million things that they can sell on eBay, and everybody does that. We try
Yeah.
to we try to avoid that. But what's great is just people who come up and just want to, because I'm the same way. I just want to meet the person for a second. I actually don't even want a signature. I don't even want a phone, maybe a picture, but mostly I just want to shake their hand for a second and say, you know, wow, you don't know what you meant to me, to my career, or to my childhood, or to whatever. And there's uh, something in that you're never going to get anywhere else, except going out to these places, and meeting people. And
Yeah.
it's great. I mean, it is. I do feel recharged after me leaving those places, because it's an assault, and there's so many people and everything. But when you're done, you just go, wow, I was there. I made some people happy in person, as opposed to just long distance, where I'm making something, and you know, next year you'll see it. You know what I mean?
mm,
And oh, you like that one? Okay, that was a year ago. I don't even remember that one. It's like that kind of you go through it, because you're just working all the time. So it's great to stop every once in a while and do stuff like this with you. You know, it's important to stop and look at it and see what I'm really was very interested to hear what your guys' questions were going to be, and you were all great. I mean, there's great questions, and
yeah.
great. I feel like we're having a conversation more than you just asking me questions. So
Yeah, and
Yeah.
I've at least when I try to do this, like I do I'm the sole editor, so I'm gonna try to get this out faster than a year from now. Uh,
right,
but
that's animation, yeah.
yeah, but I really wanted to try and make these conversations feel more than just like question.
Sure, sure.
But I actually have some other commitments I have today too.
Yeah, sure.
So
Well, take care.
I enjoyed having you on.
Yeah, I
I
loved
actually
it.
would say I loved having you on, and I'll let you. I'll post it up when I get it finished, and we'll let you know
Great.
formally
Yeah,
because
let me know
this was
whenever you
excellent.
you
So
know. This is great. I love meeting you. I love meeting Jenna. I love meeting Doug. You guys are all fun and sweet to talk to. And uh
Yeah.
I anytime I love talking to you. So and thanks for having me. Thanks for thinking of me.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
You're welcome. No problem. You.
You have a good day, Mr. Lawrence.
You too. I'll leave you
Yeah,
with
very.
this. I will
Thank you.
destroy each and every one of you.
Oof.
Thank
Oof.
you. Thank you.
Thank you so
Okay,
much.
good guys. Have a great weekend.
You too.
Thank you. You too.
Bye.
Bye bye.
Hey guys, Happy New Year! This video is very late. I had a lot of stuff going on, and this interview was coming out a little bit before the release of the Plankton movie. And, well, now, the new SpongeBob movie has just released, and I thought, it's timely. I might as well get off my butt and actually, do something about it. So I just wanted to say thank you, Mr. Lawrence, for coming on to the show. We're a very small show, but I'm glad that you took the time out of your day and schedule to spend that time with us to answer some questions. So anyway, for people that actually did watch the episode and have been sticking around with us over the new year, thank you for watching. Thank you for watching throughout the year. And we hope to see you in more years and such. And we're hoping to get more interviews and all that stuff. But while we're waiting for more interviews, keep watching our content, keep watching our weekly content. I'm going to be trying some new things, uploading on Spotify and some other platform. If anything, maybe upload some clips on TikTok. We'll see how my schedule goes. But anyway, yeah, I really thank you guys for watching. And for those who we're very small, I know we're very small. We're trying our best, but it's what we can do. And we want to try to give voices to people that don't have as loud of a voice, especially right now. So, anyway, thanks for watching, guys.